Hi everyone, don't mind my hair today. It's just doing this weird humidity heat thing. I don't know. It has like a mind of its own. I want to name my hair, but I don't know what to call her. Ooh, I'm exhausted. I am tired. However, I hope you guys are having a good Easter and that you're celebrating with family and friends and that you are making memories that is going to last and they're going to be positive and happy memories. With that being said, I hear it all the time that Jesus is the reason for the season. I'm assuming people really don't listen to what they're talking about because Easter is a season now. I'm confused. I'm confused. It's Easter this season. I thought seasons was winter, spring, fall, interchangeably autumn and stuff like that. But I didn't know that the holidays were the season. I'm confused. So I do not want you guys to be confused like I am. So let's talk about Jesus because I know why you're eating, why you're gathering together. Jesus is not in the forefront, the back front, the side front, the middle front of your minds, hearts, and souls. Jesus is nowhere there. So let me put Jesus on your mind this Easter Sunday. First of all, I want you to understand that Easter is a Christian holiday. Jesus would not be celebrating Easter if he was here today. That is because Easter is a Roman Greco or European holiday that was brought up to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus. The Passover is a spring festival that the Israelites celebrate to commemorate their freedom from Egyptian slavery, which there's no historical or archaeological cannot talk archaeological evidence of the Exodus even happening. I digress. So in the four gospels, we see four different accounts of what happened at the tomb where Jesus laid. And first in Matthew, we see that Mary Magdalene went with another Mary. Then there was an earthquake and the angel appears. Then it says Mark went. And then in Mark, it says Mary Magdalene was there. Mary, the mother of James, was there. And Salome was there. Then there was an angel at the tomb. The women are scared and they flee crazy. And then in Luke, it says Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary, the mother of James, and other people are there. Then there's two angels. And then there's all kind of hysteria. And then in John, we see Mary Magdalene. She's there first by herself. And then we see that later Peter and John is there. And they have a personal encounter with the risen Jesus. We also see that Mary didn't even know who he was. And since he was only there for 2.5 days, how could you not recognize him? I think he was switched. You know what? Let's get just to the facts. Leave my biased self out of this. Let's get to the facts. So, according to Deuteronomy 21:22 through 23, it was mandated that a body not be left out on the cross overnight. So, these are the burial customs of the first century Judea. Burial had to happen before sundown, especially in part because Jesus died on the day of preparation before High Sabbath, John 19:31. And the day of preparation is before Sabbath is because on the Sabbath day, they didn't do anything but prayed and worship, things like that. They didn't do anything real, like cleaning up and all that stuff. So they had to gather everything and do all of their things before the Sabbath. And that was a day of preparation. So if Jesus died on the Sabbath, the day of preparation, that would have been a Friday, most likely before 3 p.m. or before sundown, because that would have ended their day of preparation. And then the Sabbath would have went into the Friday night, that sundown would have started the Sabbath. Okay. So burial was typical a two-step process. The body was prepared as today our bodies are prepared when we are going to be buried. We don't see it like that, but it's being prepared for the final resting place. And after a year or later, they would come back and they would take the bones and put it in a bone box called a ossuary. And then they would put that bone box with the rest of the family. Now today in America, the majority of ours not done like that. Once you are laid to rest, especially if you're doing a burial, you're just laid to rest. They won't dig it up and put it with the family. You're most likely laid in your family's gravesite or your church's gravesite. So your body is still being prepared today for a burial. So since Jesus was from Nazareth and he was unsubscribed from life in Jerusalem, it would have been long. It would have been so long and so against um, the Jewish custom for them to take his body back there. It is actually an hour and 35 minutes by drive, and it's like a days and a half, maybe 35 40 hours by walk, and you're talking about carrying a eternally sleeping person as you walk through all of that. It's not likely. So he needed a tomb. And Joseph's tomb was perfect because Joseph was a man of money. So, and his tomb was nearby. So the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea was in a garden close to the crucifixion site, as John 19:41. It was temporary. So Jesus' final resting place would not have been in that tomb. There is strong evidence that Joseph's tomb was a temporary holding place used because of the urgency of the Sabbath. According to Jewish tradition, a body might later be relocated to a family tomb once proper preparations were completed. Keep all of this in mind. We're getting my bias out and we're doing facts. If I could talk. So, according to John 19:39 and 40, Nicodemus bought a large amount of spices, myrrh and aloes. Oh, and the body was wrapped in linen per Jewish custom. However, in Luke 24:1, we see that the women returned on Sunday morning with more spices. And this is a clue that the initial burial was rushed and incomplete. So now the question, why the empty tomb? From a historical and cultural view, Jesus' body was intended to be moved after the Sabbath to a permanent burial location. The fact that his body was missing when the women arrived could have pointed to some early observers to a relocation, not necessarily resurrection. This fits the Bible scripture, Matthew 28:11 through 15. So when it comes to the resurrected Jesus, it looks like that his body was moved from Joseph's tomb because he could not keep that tomb as his final resting place because that was Joseph's tomb, and it had to be placed in another tomb for final resting. Since they couldn't move the body between Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, it would have stayed there. But soon as the sun went down on Saturday, the Sabbath was over. They could have came anytime, and we see that doing at least 3 times of the tomb experience that they either went dawn to after sunrise or they went in the wee hours of the morning and he was gone. So that could have happened between that time. It could have. There's no real evidence or archaeological evidence that of a resurrection of any kind. I'm going to put some names of scholars on the screen as I talk about this. So just take a look at that and see if you can read that. So I know it is hard for you to accept this because of your belief system and the wanting and the needing for some supernatural force to come help you out in your situation. I get it. I understand that. I get that you want to meet your loved ones one day. I get that you want to see them one day. And the reason why it's hard for you to accept that and brush what I and other people come to you off is because you don't read the Bible. You don't read the book. You don't put it against historical and archaeological evidence. You don't do that. You just blind believe and have blind faith. And when someone like myself comes along and challenge that, it puts you in an awkward position and in your feelings. I want you guys to live your life to the fullest. Have a good time. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy your life. I also want you to not be naive and to not let this religion consume every aspect of your life. No one is going to come rescue you. You are it. You might have a group of people in your life that'll help you get there, but you are it. So please, while you're gathering together, be safe with your loved ones and your family on this Easter holiday. Just know that Jesus is not the reason for this holiday.